Part 1. The Laughingstock. The Galactic Council's space station gleamed like a jewel against the darkness of space. Ships from 100 worlds docked at its massive ports. Some vessels shimmered with energy shields. Others stretched longer than mountains. A few seemed to be made of living crystal that pulsed with inner light. Among them, the human ship, Endurance, looked plain. Its gray hull bore no fancy decorations. No energy fields danced across its surface. It moved slowly toward its assigned dock, taking 3 times longer than any other vessel to complete the approach. Inside the ship's bridge, Captain Jiho watched the other vessels through the viewport. His face showed nothing, but his hands gripped the armrests of his command chair a bit too tight. This was humanity's first time attending the Galactic Defense Summit. Earth had joined the Council only 2 years ago. Everything humanity did here would be judged. "Docking complete, Captain," said Lieutenant Minho from the navigation station. The young officer's voice was steady, but Jiho could hear the nervousness underneath. "Good work. Prepare the diplomatic team." Jiho stood and straightened his uniform. "Hana, you're with me." Hana, the diplomatic officer, gathered her data tablets. She was the youngest member of the senior crew, barely 25, but she spoke 8 alien languages fluently. Her hands trembled slightly as she checked her notes for the 10th time. The docking corridor connected the Endurance to the station's main hub. As Jiho's team walked through, they passed crews from other ships. A group of tall, blue-skinned Valorians glanced at the humans and whispered to each other. Their crystalline armor clinked softly as they walked away, making sounds that might have been laughter. The summit hall was enormous. It could hold 5,000 beings comfortably, and today it was nearly full. Delegates sat in sections marked by their species. Holographic displays floated everywhere, showing ship specifications, defensive capabilities, and patrol routes. Jiho led his team to the human section. It was small, positioned near the back. Only 12 humans sat there, representing Earth's entire contribution to the Council's defense forces. Nearby, the Valorian section had 300 delegates. The insectoid Kreth had even more. Admiral Tarek of the Valorian fleet stood at the central podium. He was impressive, nearly 7 feet tall, with skin that seemed carved from sapphire. His voice boomed through the hall without need for amplification. "We gather to coordinate our defense of Council space," Tarek announced. "Pirates grow bolder. Raiders strike our trade routes. We must present a united front." He gestured, and holographic displays shifted to show star maps marked with red danger zones. Each species will present their fleet capabilities. We begin with our newest members. Tarek's eyes, which had no pupils but glowed with inner light, fixed on the human section. "Earth, show us what you bring to our defense." Jiho stood. Every eye in the chamber turned toward him. He activated his datapad, and a hologram of the Endurance appeared above the floor, rotating slowly. Numbers scrolled beside it. The chamber went silent for a moment. Then someone laughed, then another. Within seconds, hundreds of aliens were making sounds of amusement. The Kreth clicked their mandibles rapidly. The Brentax, huge bear-like creatures, slapped their massive paws on their seats. "0.3 light speed," Tarek said, and his tone dripped with disbelief. "Your maximum velocity is 30% of light speed?" "That's correct," Jiho replied calmly. "No hyperdrive?" "No." "No quantum jump capability?" "We use fusion-based propulsion." The laughter grew louder. A Kreth delegate stood up, his insect body chittering with mirth. "Fusion? That technology is 5,000 years old." Tarek held up a hand and the chamber quieted somewhat, but his expression showed clear contempt. "Captain Jiho, help me understand. My flagship can jump 50 light years in an instant. We can cross sectors in hours. Your ship would take... what? Months to cover the same distance." "Yes, Admiral." And you brought only 8 such ships to contribute to Council defense? We brought what we have. More laughter. Hana's face burned with shame. She could feel the stares, hear the whispers. One Valorian in the front row was showing his companion something on a data pad. They both looked at the humans and shook their heads. Tarek turned back to his own display. Well, Earth's contribution is noted. The way he said contribution made it sound like an insult. We will find somewhere for these vessels to patrol, something appropriate to their capabilities. The summit continued. Other species presented their fleets. The Valorian ships could jump across vast distances instantly. The Kreth vessels had weapons that could shatter asteroids. The Brentax commanded dreadnoughts with armor that could withstand direct hits from plasma cannons. Each presentation was met with respect and serious discussion. During a break, Jiho stood on an observation deck with Minho. They watched ships come and go from the station. A Valorian cruiser jumped into view, appearing from nowhere in a flash of light. It was beautiful and terrifying. "They're not wrong, Captain," Minho said quietly. "We are slow. Compared to them, we're crawling through space." "Speed isn't everything," Jiho replied. "Then what do we have?" Jiho didn't answer immediately. He watched another ship arrive, this one from the Kreth. It moved with incredible grace, its organic-looking hull rippling like water. "Persistence," Jiho finally said. Minho looked confused, but didn't press further. Back in the summit hall, patrol assignments were distributed. The Valorians received the most critical routes, protecting major trade lanes and council worlds. The Kreth got borders that needed constant monitoring. The Brentax were assigned to guard strategic stations. When Earth's name was called, Tarek barely glanced at the human section. "Route 77, Outer Rim, low priority, minimal pirate activity." He moved on immediately to the next species. Hana checked her data pad and her shoulders slumped. Route 77 was the shortest patrol route assigned to anyone. It covered a quiet section of space where almost nothing happened. It was a charity posting, something given to them so they wouldn't feel completely useless. As the summit concluded, delegates mingled. Jiho tried to speak with other commanders, but most made excuses and walked away. A Kreth captain actually laughed in his face before turning her back on him. Only one delegate approached them voluntarily. She was a young Valorian officer named Saris, lower ranked than most others present. "Captain Jiho," she said carefully, "I'm sure Earth's ships will serve well." "Thank you," Jiho said, though both of them knew she was just being polite. On the walk back to the Endurance, none of the human team spoke. The shame sat heavy on all of them. They had come here hoping to prove that humanity belonged in the Council. Instead, they had become a joke. As the Endurance undocked and began its slow journey to Route 77, Jiho stood alone on the bridge. Through the viewport, he watched faster ships zip past, leaving trails of light. Each one could outrun his ship by impossible margins. But in the ship's engine room, Engineer Yuna checked the fusion reactors. They hummed with steady power, exactly as designed. They could run like this for years without stopping, without slowing, without rest. She smiled slightly. The aliens had laughed at the specifications they understood, but there were other numbers they hadn't paid attention to. Numbers that might matter more than they realized. The Endurance picked up speed slowly, steadily, heading for its assigned route. It wouldn't arrive quickly, but it would arrive, and once it started moving, it wouldn't stop. The Part 2, The Unexpected Advantage. 3 months passed since the humiliation at the summit. The Endurance patrolled Route 77 exactly as ordered. The crew fell into a routine. Every day looked the same. Scan for threats, monitor communications. Move forward at .3 light speed, never stopping, never slowing. The route was quiet, just as Admiral Tarek had promised. They encountered trading vessels occasionally, all of them passing the slow human ship with ease. Once, a Kreth patrol ship jumped in nearby, saw the Endurance, and jumped away again without even sending a greeting. Morale was low. Minho spent his off hours studying tactical reports from other sectors. The Valorians had stopped a pirate raid near their homeworld. The Kreth fleet had captured 3 raider vessels in a single week. The Brentax were protecting convoys successfully. Meanwhile, the Endurance had done nothing but exist in empty space. "We're useless out here," Junho complained during a meal break. The tactical officer pushed food around his plate without eating. "We might as well be a lighthouse, just sitting here warning people that something slow is in the area." "We're doing our duty," Hana said, but even she sounded unconvinced. Then the distress call came. It arrived in the middle of the sleep cycle, blaring through every speaker on the ship. Jiho was on the bridge within minutes, still fastening his uniform. "Report," he ordered. Suman, the communications officer, looked shaken. "Mining colony, 30 light hours from our current position. Under attack by pirates. Heavy weapons fire. They're requesting immediate assistance." "Send acknowledgement. Tell them we're on our way." Jiho turned to Minho. "Plot the fastest course." "Already done, Captain, but—" Minho hesitated. "At our maximum speed, we'll arrive in 40 hours. 40 hours. The pirates would be long gone by then. Everyone on the bridge knew it. Pirates never stayed once they got what they wanted. They would raid the colony and jump away within an hour or two at most. Jiho studied the star chart displayed above the navigation console. The colony's position blinked red. He could see the standard routes that led away from that location. Pirates always had escape plans. They would jump to one of several nearby systems to avoid pursuit. "Junho, pull up pirate movement patterns in this sector for the last year." The tactical officer looked confused, but obeyed. Data filled the screens. Every pirate raid in nearby space, every escape route they had used, every system they had fled to. "Computer, analyze patterns. Show me the most likely escape vectors from the colony." The computer processed the data. Lines appeared on the star chart, showing 3 main routes the pirates had used historically. All 3 led away from the colony toward the outer rim where council patrols were thin. Jiho stared at the lines for a long moment. Then he smiled. It wasn't a happy smile. "Minho, disregard previous course. Plot a new heading." He pointed at a spot on the chart where 2 of the escape routes intersected. "Here, maximum speed." "Captain?" Minho looked at the location. "That's nowhere. There's nothing there. The colony is in the opposite direction." "The colony is already lost," Jiho said flatly. "We can't save it. But we can be waiting when the pirates run." Yuna had come to the bridge, drawn by the alert. She understood immediately. "You're going to intercept them. If my calculations are correct, they'll raid the colony and then jump to this area to avoid council patrols from the main sectors. It's what they always do." "And if you're wrong," Junho asked, "then we've lost nothing but time. But if I'm right—" Jiho let the sentence hang. The Endurance changed course. It didn't rush because it couldn't. It simply turned and kept moving at its steady, unchangeable speed. The crew watched the chronometer. 6 hours passed, then 12, then 20. A message came from Galactic Command. A Valorian patrol ship had jumped to the colony's last known position. The pirates were gone. The colony was damaged but intact. The raiders had taken what they wanted and vanished. "Standard pirate tactics," Junho muttered. "Strike fast, leave fast." But Jiho was counting minutes in his head. The pirates would have jumped immediately after the raid. Their ships could cross vast distances, but they weren't infinite. They would need to drop out of FTL to recalculate, to check for pursuit. And when they did— "30 minutes to intercept point," Minho announced. The bridge grew tense. Everyone watched the sensors. The Endurance moved through empty space, nothing but stars around them. They were far from any planet, any station, any trade route. Just darkness and distance. 5 minutes to intercept point. All crew to battle stations, Jiho ordered calmly. Power up weapons. Prepare boarding teams. Hana gripped her station's console. This was insane. They were hunting for ships in the middle of nowhere based on nothing but pattern analysis and hope. 1 minute. The seconds ticked down. 50, 40, 30, 20. 10 seconds to intercept point. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Nothing happened. Junho sagged in his seat. Captain, there's nothing here. They didn't... The sensors screamed. 3 ships dropped out of FTL right in front of the Endurance. Pirate vessels, their hulls marked with scars from 100 battles. They appeared out of nowhere, exactly where Jiho had predicted, exactly when he had calculated. For a moment, everyone froze. The pirates on their ships, the humans on theirs. Nobody had expected this meeting. Then Jiho's voice cut through the silence. Fire. The Endurance's railguns opened up. Solid projectiles accelerated by magnetic fields slammed into the closest pirate ship before it could react. The raiders had dropped out of FTL to rest to celebrate their successful raid. Their shields were down. Their weapons unpowered. The first pirate ship's engines exploded. The second tried to jump away, but Junho had already locked targeting systems. More railgun rounds tore through its hull. The third ship managed to activate its shields, but the Endurance kept firing. The fusion reactors provided endless power. No cooldown, no recharge time needed. Just steady, relentless fire. They're trying to hail us, Suman reported. Ignore it. Continue firing. Within 10 minutes, all 3 pirate ships were disabled and drifting. Boarding teams launched in small craft, secured the vessels, and took the surviving pirates into custody. The bridge crew sat in stunned silence. How did you know? Minho finally asked. Jiho pulled up the star charts again. They always run. They always use the same routes. Fast ships can chase them, but the pirates are fast too. They can usually get away. He pointed at the intersection where they had waited. But if you're already where they're going to be, you don't need to be faster, Yuna finished. You just need to be patient. Suman sent the report to Galactic Command. The response came back hours later, a short acknowledgement. No congratulations, no recognition, just a note that the pirates would be transferred to Council custody. They think it was luck, Hana said, reading the message. Let them think that, Jiho replied. But something had changed in the crew. Junho started studying pirate patterns more carefully. Minho began plotting courses not to where distress calls came from, but to where trouble would go afterward. Yuna kept the engines running at exactly 0.3 light speed, never varying, creating a predictable constant that could be planned around. The Endurance continued its patrol, still slow, still steady, but now moving with purpose. In the following weeks, pirate activity in Route 77 dropped dramatically. The raiders learned to avoid that sector. They didn't know why, but ships that raided near the human patrol route had a strange tendency to find the Endurance waiting for them afterward. Not chasing them, waiting. It was like being hunted by a ghost that moved in slow motion, but was somehow always there when you least expected it. Other patrols began noticing the change. A Kreth convoy commander sent a message asking what the Endurance had done. A Valorian security officer requested their patrol patterns. Galactic Command still dismissed it as coincidence. But the word spread slowly through the fleet. There was something different about that slow human ship, something patient, something that didn't give up. Part 3. The pattern emerges. 6 months after the first pirate intercept, something strange was happening in the sectors near Route 77. Nari, the ship's intelligence analyst, noticed it first. She spent her days reviewing reports from across Council space, looking for patterns that might help predict pirate movements. "Captain, you need to see this," she said, bringing her datapad to Jiho's ready room. Jiho looked up from his own reports. Nari was usually quiet, speaking only when she had something important to say. He gestured for her to continue. She displayed a map of the surrounding sectors. "This is pirate activity over the last 3 months. The red zones show where raids have occurred. The blue zones show where no activity has been reported." The map showed a clear pattern. Red zones clustered in certain areas, but surrounding Route 77, spreading outward like ripples in water, blue zones dominated. "They're avoiding us," Jiho observed. "Not just avoiding, Captain. They're fleeing. Look at this." Nari changed the display to show movement patterns. "Pirates raid a location here, then they jump away, but not toward their usual hideouts. They're jumping away from any route the Endurance has traveled in the last month. They're afraid. Yes, but not of our weapons, of our presence." Nari highlighted several data points. "A pirate gang was operating near the Kreth border, active for 2 years. We passed through that sector once, 3 weeks ago. They haven't been seen since. Another group was raiding mining operations on the rim. We patrolled within 10 light hours of their territory. They moved their entire operation to a different sector." Jiho studied the map. The Endurance moved slowly, but it moved constantly. While other patrol ships responded to incidents and then returned to their bases, the Endurance never stopped. It was always in motion, always covering new space, always creating a web of coverage that expanded with each passing day. "We're not defending points," he said slowly. "We're defending lines." "Exactly. And the pirates are learning that anywhere we've been, we might come back to. They can't predict when or where, only that we will eventually." Minho entered the ready room with his own report. "Captain, I've been tracking our intercept rate. We've captured or disabled 17 pirate vessels in 6 months. The Valorian Fast Response Fleet has captured 23 in the same period. They have 50 ships to our 1, Jiho noted. "Yes, and their ships are 100 times faster." Minho sat down. "But here's what's interesting. Our captures are clean. We take the pirates alive, recover stolen goods, and the pirate ships are in good enough condition to be studied. The Valorian captures are usually just debris. The pirates destroy themselves rather than be caught." "Because we wait," Nari added. "We're not chasing them in the heat of the moment. We intercept them hours or days later after they think they're safe. They don't expect us." The Endurance continued its patrol, but now with growing confidence. The crew had stopped comparing themselves to the faster ships. They had found their own way to be effective. Word was spreading through the Council fleet. A Kreth convoy commander named Thrix sent a direct message to Jiho. The communication came through while the Endurance was passing through a quiet sector. "Captain Jiho, this is Commander Thrix of the merchant vessel Prosperity. I wanted to thank your ship personally." Jiho took the call on the bridge. Thrix's insect face appeared on the screen, mandibles clicking in what might have been a smile. "Thank us for what, Commander?" "The Endurance passed our regular route 4 days ago. We're a trading convoy carrying medical supplies to outer colonies. For 3 months, we've been harassed by a pirate gang. They knew our schedule. They hit us every single run. We lost 2 ships. 16 crew killed." Thrix's mandibles stopped moving for a moment. "Your ship did nothing. You just passed by, heading somewhere else. But the pirates haven't returned. Our last 5 runs have been safe. What did you do?" "We existed," Jiho replied simply. "I don't understand." "The pirates know we're in this region. They know we don't chase, we intercept. They know we're patient. They'd rather find easier targets than risk running into us." After the call ended, Hana turned to Jiho. "We're changing how pirates operate." "Not just pirates," Minho added. Look at this. He displayed another star chart. Trading vessels are changing their routes. They're moving closer to our patrol pattern. They feel safer near where we've been. Junho laughed. They're using us like a shield, a very slow shield. But not everyone was impressed. Galactic Command continued to receive reports of the Endurance's effectiveness, and most officers dismissed them. Admiral Tarek sent a message to Earth's Council representative, suggesting that human ships be reassigned to more appropriate duties, like cargo transport or system defense. The patrol routes need ships that can respond quickly, his message stated. Earth's vessels are achieving results through luck and pirate superstition, not tactical superiority. Send them proper ships and watch how real defense works. But Captain Hyon of the human destroyer, Perseverance, saw something different in the reports. His ship was newer than the Endurance, but just as slow by Council standards. He had been assigned to patrol a different quiet route, feeling just as useless as Jiho had felt months before. Hyon studied the Endurance's methods carefully. He began plotting not where attacks were happening, but where they would happen next. He started positioning his ship not at defensive points, but along escape routes. He kept moving, never stopping, creating that same web of constant presence. Within weeks, pirate activity in his sector dropped too. Captain Sora of the Determination did the same. Then Captain Doyen of the Resilience. One by one, the small human fleet adopted the same tactics. They couldn't be fast, so they became inevitable instead. The change didn't happen overnight. Most of the Council still saw human ships as jokes. But the pirates were learning a hard lesson. Fast ships could be avoided. Strong ships could be fled from. But ships that were always moving, always present, always waiting somewhere ahead, those were different. Those were terrifying in a way that speed and power weren't. Nari spent her evenings in the ship's common area, sharing her findings with off-duty crew. "I've been studying Earth's history," she told them one night. "Did you know humans used to hunt animals that were faster and stronger than them?" "How?" Yuna asked. "They ran after them. Not fast, but for hours. Days sometimes. The prey would sprint away thinking they had escaped. But the humans would track them and follow. Sprint, rest, sprint again. Eventually, the prey would be too exhausted to run anymore. The humans called it persistence hunting." "That's what we're doing," Junho realized. "But in space." "Exactly. The pirates are fast. They can jump away from any fight, but we're always coming, always tracking, always there. Eventually, we're just there." 3 months later, the Endurance received new orders. Galactic Command was expanding its patrol routes. The message was brief and professional, but there was something different in the tone. They weren't being mocked anymore. The orders came with a request: share tactical data with other patrol vessels. Jiho sent the data without comment, but he allowed himself a small smile. That night, he stood in the observation deck with Yuna. They watched stars slide past slowly as the Endurance maintained its steady .3 light speed. "They're starting to understand," Yuna said. "Some of them," Jiho replied. "The smart ones. The ones who pay attention to results instead of specifications. And the others? They'll learn. Eventually." He watched a Valorian ship jump past them in a flash of light, heading somewhere quickly. Speed is impressive, but there's something to be said for the ship that's still there tomorrow, and the day after, and the month after. The Endurance continued its patrol, still slow, still steady, but no longer a joke. The web of its influence spread wider with each passing day, a growing zone where pirates feared to operate and traders felt safe to travel. In the vast darkness of space, the slowest ship in the Council fleet had become one of the most effective. Not through power, not through speed, but through simple, patient, endless persistence. Part 4. The Crisis. The alert came without warning. Every ship in Council space received it simultaneously, the emergency broadcast overriding all other communications. Jiho was in his quarters when the alarm sounded. He reached the bridge in seconds. "Report," he ordered. Suman's hands shook as she worked her console. "Captain, it's a priority Alpha alert from Council Command. The Vrexel horde has emerged from dark space. Multiple sectors, hundreds of ships." The main screen filled with data. The Vrexel were a terror from old stories, a biomechanical species that had vanished into the deep void centuries ago. Their ships were living things, grown rather than built, capable of jumping continuously without rest. They consumed technology, breaking down defeated vessels to create more of their own. Now they were back, and they were everywhere. "How many ships?" Jiho asked. "Initial reports say over 500, but the numbers keep growing." Suman pulled up tactical displays. "They're not raiding, Captain. They're invading, systematic, organized." Red markers bloomed across the star chart like a disease spreading. The Vrexel were sweeping through Council space in waves. A colony would send a distress signal. Council ships would respond. By the time they arrived, the Vrexel would be gone, having jumped to the next target. Then they would return to the first location, hitting the responding ships from behind. It was coordinated, intelligent, devastating. The Galactic Defense Fleet mobilized everything. Valorian battle groups jumped to intercept. Kreth swarms deployed their fastest vessels. Brentax dreadnoughts powered up their massive weapons. The Council had never assembled such a force, and they were losing. The reports came in hour by hour, each worse than the last. A Valorian battle group engaged 30 Vrexel ships. They destroyed half of them in a brilliant display of firepower. The Vrexel jumped away. The Valorians celebrated victory. Then the Vrexel returned 5 hours later with reinforcements, hitting the Valorian ships while they were refueling and repairing. The entire battle group was destroyed. The same pattern repeated everywhere. The Council ships were faster and more powerful, but the Vrexel could jump endlessly. They hit, retreated, repaired, and returned. They never stayed to fight a losing battle. They learned from each engagement and adapted. Admiral Tarek led the largest counter-offensive. His fleet of 200 vessels jumped to defend a critical junction point. The Vrexel met them with overwhelming numbers. The battle was fierce. Tarek's flagship destroyed dozens of enemy ships before a Vrexel swarm focused fire on it. The ship's shields collapsed, then its hull. Tarek died along with 3,000 Valorian crew members. The news hit the Council like a physical blow. Tarek had been one of their finest commanders. If he could fall, anyone could. Panic spread, colonies evacuated, trade stopped. Council members began arguing about whether to sue for peace, to retreat to their homeworlds and abandon the outer sectors. The emergency order came to all ships. Return to the inner systems. Defend the core worlds. Prepare for last stands. The Endurance received the order while patrolling the outer rim. They were months away from the core worlds at their maximum speed. By the time they arrived, the war might be over. Hana read the order and felt despair wash over her. "We're too far away." "We can't help." But Jiho was studying the tactical reports with Nari. They had spread every piece of data across the main display, tracking the Vrexel attack patterns. "They're not random," Nari said, highlighting certain routes on the star chart. "Look, they're clearing corridors. Each wave pushes deeper into Council space, but they're following specific paths. They're creating supply lines," Jiho realized. "They need to bring resources from dark space to their forward forces. They're building a road." Minho plotted the pattern forward. "If they continue this way, their next major push will be here." He pointed to a junction known as the Dark Reach, a mostly empty region that connected the outer rim to the inner Council worlds. "It's a natural choke point. If they take it, they can flood into the core systems." "When?" Jiho asked. Nari ran calculations. based on their pattern and speed. 3 weeks. Maybe 4. Jiho pulled up their current position and the location of the Dark Reach. His crew watched him calculate, understanding slowly dawning on their faces. "We can be there," Junho whispered. "If we go now, if we don't stop." "It's empty space," Hana protested. "There's nothing there, no colonies to defend, no stations." "There will be," Jiho said. "When the Vrexel arrive." He opened a communication channel. "This is Captain Jiho of the Endurance, to all human vessels. I'm sending you coordinates and tactical analysis. I believe the Vrexel will strike at the Dark Reach in approximately 3 weeks. We're moving to intercept. Any ship that can reach that location in time should do so." He closed the channel and turned to Minho. "Set course. Maximum continuous speed." "Captain," Yuna said from the engineering station, "if we run the reactors at full power for 3 straight weeks without maintenance stops, we'll be pushing the design limits." "Can we do it?" She smiled grimly. "We were built for this. The reactors can run for years if needed. We'll get you there." The Endurance changed course, turning toward empty space, toward a location where nothing existed except the certainty that something terrible would arrive there soon. Over the next 2 days, responses came from other human ships. Captain Hyon of the Perseverance. "We're closer to the Dark Reach. We'll arrive in 17 days. Captain Sora of the Determination. 20 days out. We're coming." 5 more human ships confirmed they could reach the location in time. 8 human vessels total. The slowest ships in the Council fleet, all converging on empty space. Galactic Command sent a confused message. "Human vessels, you are ordered to return to defensive positions. The Dark Reach is not a strategic location. There is nothing there to defend." Jiho sent a simple reply. "We're not defending. We're waiting." The journey took every bit of focus the crew had. Yuna and her engineering team worked around the clock, monitoring the fusion reactors. The engines had never run at full power for so long continuously. Heat built up, systems strained, but they held. Nari continued analyzing Vrexel patterns, refining her predictions. "They'll come in waves," she told Jiho. "First a scouting force to clear the area, then the main assault group. They're systematic, predictable." "Good," Jiho said. "Predictable can be countered." Junho began planning firing solutions with the other human ships. They couldn't be everywhere at once, but they could be at specific locations at specific times. The Vrexel jumped around constantly, but they had to end up somewhere. And if 8 ships were positioned at every likely arrival point. On the 16th day, they reached the Dark Reach. Empty space surrounded them, no stars nearby, no planets, nothing but darkness and the slow drift of distant nebulae. The Perseverance arrived the next day, then the Determination. One by one, the slow human ships gathered in the void. They spread out across the calculated intercept points, forming a web in 3-dimensional space. "We have 5 days until the Vrexel are scheduled to arrive," Minho reported. "If Nari's calculations are correct." "They are," Nari said with quiet confidence. The wait began. The crews tried to rest, knowing battle was coming, but tension ran high. They were 8 ships against an invasion force. 8 slow ships that couldn't run even if they wanted to. Jiho spent the time going over battle plans with the other captains through secure communications. They couldn't fight like Council ships did. They had no speed advantage, no ability to jump away, but they had planned this. They had positioned themselves deliberately, and they had something the Vrexel hadn't faced before: patience, weaponized into trap. On the 20th day, Junho's sensors detected the first ripples in space-time. "Captain, something's jumping in. Multiple signatures." "All ships, power weapons," Jiho ordered across the fleet channel. "Hold positions. Wait for my signal." The Vrexel scout force emerged from their jump. 20 biomechanical ships, their hulls covered in what looked like chitin and metal fused together. They had jumped to this location because it was empty, safe, a perfect staging area for their invasion. except it wasn't empty anymore. The Endurance and 7 other human vessels sat in the darkness, engines cold, weapons hot, exactly where they had been waiting for 5 days. The Vrexel froze. In that moment of surprise, Jiho gave the order. Fire! Part 5. The Fearsome Force. The railgun spoke first. 8 human ships opened fire simultaneously, their weapons powered by fusion reactors that never needed to cool down. Solid projectiles accelerated to incredible speeds, slammed into the Vrexel scout ships before they could react. The first 3 Vrexel vessels exploded instantly. Their biomechanical hulls ruptured, spilling strange fluids and mechanical parts into the void. The others tried to scatter, to jump away to safety, but jumping required knowing where to go. The Vrexel scouts calculated escape vectors, aiming for empty space where they could regroup. They jumped. The Perseverance was waiting at the first coordinate. Captain Hyon's ship fired the moment the Vrexel appeared. 2 more enemy vessels died before they understood what was happening. The remaining scouts jumped again, choosing different vectors. The Determination caught 3 of them. The Resilience destroyed 2 more. Every escape route had a human ship positioned exactly where it needed to be. Within 20 minutes, all 20 Vrexel scouts were destroyed or disabled. The human ships hadn't moved. They had simply waited at the right locations. Secure the wrecks, Jiho ordered. Nari, how long until the main force arrives? Based on their pattern, 6 to 8 hours. They'll send scouts first, then the main assault when the scouts report the area is clear. She paused. Except the scouts won't report anything. Because they're all dead, Junho said with grim satisfaction. The crew used the time to resupply ammunition and run maintenance checks. Yuna and her engineering team worked frantically, knowing the fusion reactors would be pushed even harder in the coming battle. The other human ships did the same, preparing for what was coming. Messages started arriving from Council Command. The faster ships had noticed the sudden silence from the Vrexel advance. Questions flew back and forth. What had stopped them? Where were the invasion forces? Captain Sora sent a simple message to Council Command. Dark Reach secured. Awaiting enemy main force. The response came back confused. Dark Reach? That's empty space. What forces do you have there? 8 human vessels, Sora replied. There was a long silence. Then, 8 ships? Against the Vrexel horde? Retreat immediately. You cannot hold that position. We don't need to hold it. Jiho cut in on the channel. We just need to be here. The main Vrexel force arrived exactly 7 hours and 42 minutes later. Nari's calculations had been nearly perfect. Space rippled and tore as over 200 biomechanical warships emerged from their jump. This was the spearhead of the invasion. The force meant to smash through Council defenses and open the way to the core worlds. They jumped into what should have been empty space. Instead, they found themselves in a kill zone. The human ships had spread out across the area in a 3-dimensional formation, not clustered together for defense, but positioned at every possible location the Vrexel might need to escape to. The formation looked strange to traditional military thinking. The ships were too far apart to support each other, too spread out to concentrate firepower. But that wasn't the point. The point was coverage. The point was being everywhere the enemy might run. The Vrexel command ship detected the human vessels immediately. For a moment, the invasion force hesitated. 8 ships against 200 should have been no contest, but something felt wrong. Then the Endurance fired, and the battle truly began. Railgun rounds tore through the Vrexel formation. The human ships didn't aim for killing blows. They aimed for engines, for jump drives, for anything that would prevent escape. The Vrexel were fast and could jump continuously, but only if their drives were intact. The Vrexel commander made the obvious choice. His force was overwhelming. He split his fleet into groups and sent them against each human ship individually. 40 Vrexel vessels converged on the Endurance. Another group headed for the Perseverance. The math was simple: surround and destroy each human ship one at a time. But the human ships didn't try to fight 40 vessels at once. The Endurance fired a few shots, then went completely dark. Power off, weapons cold, just drifting like a dead hulk. The Vrexel ships closed in cautiously. Was it a trick? Was the ship damaged? They scanned it carefully, weapons ready. Meanwhile, the 40 Vrexel ships that should have been fighting were now clustered in one location, their attention focused on what they thought was a crippled target. They weren't fighting, they weren't patrolling, they were just waiting in one spot, exactly where Jiho wanted them. The other 7 human ships, no longer threatened by those 40 vessels, focused their fire on the rest of the Vrexel fleet. Without 40 of their strongest ships providing support, the remaining Vrexel force found itself outnumbered in terms of effective firepower per engagement. The Vrexel commander realized the trick too late. He ordered the 40 ships to stop wasting time and rejoin the battle. But by then, 30 more Vrexel vessels had been crippled or destroyed. The Vrexel tried to jump away. They calculated coordinates to escape to, but 8 human ships had been studying their tactics for hours, plotting every possible destination. The determination was waiting at the first jump point. The resolution at the second. Every escape route had become a trap. The Vrexel learned quickly. They adapted as they always did. They started jumping in random directions, anywhere to escape the killing field. But random jumps meant arriving in unknown space, disoriented and scattered. Some Vrexel ships collided with each other when they emerged in the same location. Others found themselves alone, easy prey for the human vessels that patiently tracked them down. The battle lasted 18 hours. Not because the fighting was constant, but because it wasn't. The human ships fired, fell back, repositioned, and waited. They let the Vrexel exhaust themselves jumping around. They let the enemy waste energy and resources trying to escape instead of fighting. When Vrexel ships tried to regroup, a human ship would be there, breaking up the formation. When they tried to flee, another human ship would intercept. When they tried to hide in the vast darkness, patient tracking would find them hours later. It was like watching a pack of wolves hunt. Except the wolves moved in slow motion, and the prey was faster and stronger. But the prey kept running and running until it couldn't run anymore. Jiho stood on the bridge of the Endurance, watching the tactical display. His ship had taken damage. Scorch marks covered the hull. 2 railgun batteries were offline, but the fusion reactors still hummed with power. The ship could keep fighting for days if needed. "Captain, the Vrexel command ship is trying to broadcast," Suman reported. "Put it through." The screen filled with an alien face, partly organic, partly mechanical. The Vrexel commander's voice was harsh but clear. "Human ship, your tactics are effective, but you cannot sustain this. Our reinforcements will arrive." "No, they won't," Jiho replied calmly. "You chose this location because it was perfect for staging an invasion. A natural corridor to the Council core worlds. Easy to defend. Hard to flank." He gestured to the tactical display. "That's why we chose it too. Every ship you send here will find us waiting. We don't need to chase you across the galaxy. We just need to be here." "You cannot stay here forever." "Can't we?" Jiho smiled coldly. "Our ships don't need to refuel. We don't need maintenance stops. We don't need rest. We can sit here for months, years, always moving, always watching. Can you?" The Vrexel commander was silent. "We learned something from studying you," Jiho continued. "You're fast. You're adaptable. You can jump anywhere in moments. But you think like raiders. You hit and run. You assume your enemy will chase you, will try to match your speed." He leaned forward. "We don't chase. We predict. We position. We wait. And when you jump, we're already there." He paused. "Your scouts should have reported this position clear. They didn't because we destroyed them all. Your main force should be advancing on Council worlds. Instead, you're trapped here. Your reinforcements will jump to this location expecting to find you victorious. Instead, they'll find us." The Vrexel commander's mechanical parts whirred as he processed this. "What do you want?" "Leave. Go back to dark space. If you do, we won't pursue. But if any Vrexel ship enters Council space again, we'll be waiting. Not chasing. Waiting. Every corridor you need to travel, we'll be there. Every staging area you need, we'll occupy it first. You're fast, but you can't be everywhere. We're slow, but we can be anywhere, given time. And we have all the time we need." The transmission cut off. For 3 hours, the Vrexel fleet regrouped, gathering their damaged ships. Then, as one, they jumped away. Not toward Council space, back toward the void they had come from. Long-range sensors tracked them until they vanished into dark space. They didn't return. The 8 human ships sat in the darkness, engines still running, weapons still powered. They stayed there for another week, making sure the Vrexel were truly gone. When they finally left the dark reach, messages were waiting from Council command. Not dismissive notes this time. Urgent requests, questions, demands to know what had happened. The human ships jumped? No. They had used their FTL capabilities? No. Then how had they defeated an invasion force? The answer was simple but hard for the faster species to understand. They had been patient. They had predicted. They had positioned. And they had waited. 3 months later, Jiho stood in the Council chambers once again. The room was different now. The human section had been moved to the front. It was larger. Every seat was filled. The new Valorian Admiral Saris stood at the central podium. She was younger than Tarek had been, but she had learned from the Vrexel invasion. "Captain Jiho, on behalf of the Galactic Council, I present you with the Star of Unity, our highest military honor. Your tactics saved not just the Outer Rim, but potentially all Council worlds." She paused. "I must confess, I don't fully understand how you did it." Jiho accepted the medal. Then he activated a display showing Earth's surface, specifically grasslands where early humans once hunted. "On my homeworld, humans were not the fastest animals, not the strongest, not the most dangerous." He showed images of ancient hunts. But our ancestors learned something. They learned to track, to predict, to run not in short bursts, but for hours, for days. They would follow prey that was faster and stronger, never stopping, never giving up. Eventually, the prey would be too exhausted to continue. We call it persistence hunting. He changed the display to star charts showing the Dark Reach battle. The Vrexel were faster than us, stronger, better armed, but we didn't need to match their speed. We just needed to be where they were going, to keep coming, to never stop, to be inevitable. Minho stepped forward. "Every species here builds ships to sprint, to jump vast distances, to respond quickly, but there's a cost, cool-down times, refueling, maintenance, rest." "Human ships don't sprint," Yuna added. "We run marathons. Our fusion reactors can operate for years. Our crews rotate, but the ship never stops moving. We're not the fastest ships in the galaxy, but we're the only ones that never stop." The council chamber was silent. Understanding was slowly dawning on faces from 100 worlds. Captain Hyon spoke next. "You asked what we bring to council defense. We bring time. We bring patience. We bring the ability to be somewhere next week, next month, next year. You can't outrun that. You can't escape it. You can only hope we're looking somewhere else." Saris looked at the star charts showing human patrol routes. They now covered vast swathes of space, not because human ships were fast, but because they had been patient enough to reach everywhere over time. "You've changed how we think about naval tactics," she said quietly. "No," Jiho corrected gently. "We just reminded everyone that speed isn't everything. Sometimes the best ship isn't the one that gets there first." It's the one that's still there tomorrow. The council approved expanded human patrol routes. Other species began requesting tactical advisors, wanting to learn these strange new methods. Some even started building their own endurance vessels, ships designed not for speed, but for continuous operation. Later, Jiho stood with his crew in the observation deck of the Endurance. The ship was moving again, heading for new patrol routes, always moving, never stopping. "They finally understand us," Hana said, watching stars slide past slowly. "Some of them," Jiho replied, "but it doesn't matter if they understand. It only matters that we understand ourselves." He looked at his crew. "We're not the fastest, we're not the strongest, but we're the ones who never give up. We're the ones who keep going long after everyone else has stopped. That's what makes us human. That's what makes us dangerous." The Endurance continued into the darkness, its engines humming their eternal song. Not the fastest ship in the galaxy, not the most powerful, but persistent, inevitable, patient. And somewhere in the deep void, species that thought they knew how wars were fought learned a new word, a human word: endurance.